So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics and podcast. And I'm fucking pumped to be here again. And as you can see, or maybe can't see because you're on the podcast, actually, we will discuss again Essentialism. This book I was been discussing yesterday as well. So because yesterday there were two episodes, I was both doing the Gary Vee book, so Thank You Economy, and Essentialism. I quite think that the Essentialism book is quite okay. You know, it just quite seems to be like some sort of a view of life, or just a world view, some kind of, you know, pretty much a lifestyle, which is maybe not as strong as I want to tell you. It is something like, I don't know, something like a religion. You know, this might be a good one, which is, you know, pretty interesting for me because yeah, no, you know, it's just a way to just view your world and so on. So therefore, it's a little bit overdone at my point of view, but it has still quite great insights, I think, and there are actually going to be some pretty good points the author makes, and which I'm going to discuss right now. I do just have to write something. I'm sorry. So we will go on with focus on matters. I do think that I've stopped there because I can't remember the things that are standing here. So therefore, I just go on with that one and see how long I can go with that, or how far I come today, or how far I will make it today with you. And today then will be the Thank You Economy by Gary Vee, which I'm incredibly pumped for, and I still was today. Actually, when I was in the train, I was like, I kind of feel more like, doing something from Gary Vee, but I made myself the schedule, I made myself the mix-up thing, and I made myself the kind of promise to not make, two exact same things after one and another, and therefore I'm just doing this right now. But the thing is, as I've seen that there's actually some quite great points coming up quite now, I was fucking pumped to just go through it because I immediately just knew what I just will, talk about this. So focus on what matters. We have all felt lost and unmotivated at different points in our life. Often we are faced with too much information or have too many choices, and you simply do not know what you need to focus on. Rather than making a choice and moving forward, we find ourselves stationary and stagnant, making no progress and anything at all. Or even worse, moving backward, which is definitely a thing that could be occurring, or could just happen, because this is actually something that I've been talking about in the last episode as well, which is definitely something that I've been experiencing in terms of not making regular breaks or pauses or whatever you want to call it, which is, at my point of view, pretty important because. For me, it feels like, if you just, work, and work, which is, I think, just the exact same way as I was explaining it the last time. If you're just working all the time, at my point of view, that, there will be some times where you're just not that productive as in the really beginning of your work period. And therefore, for me, it is just good to have some pauses or breaks, which I'm actually not doing, and which should actually be some kind of scheduled. If it be like, yeah, okay, I will make a pause or break when I just feel like it, this won't work, because then you will be like, okay, I have a pause right there or a break right there, and then I start working again. But then just after the start, you immediately feel like, okay, you need another break. And if you then make one, you just, come to the point where you just do make only breaks and do just not work at all, which is just unproductive and not good for your business or for whatever you're doing it. But actually having scheduled breaks where you just say, okay, you do, which is an example I made and which is something that I've heard somewhere. I think it is the Pomodoro principle. I don't know. I've just forgotten it. I'm sorry. And which is 20%, not 20%, but 25 minutes of work followed by 5 minutes of a break, of a small little break to kind of recover and rehab and just not getting in this unproductive mood that you might be or you might come if you just work. It is actually something that I've tried. At my point of view, with creative work, it's nothing that will work that much or that good, because if you're doing something creative, there might be some kind of a flow. And and if you're in your flow and you just are kind of forced to make a break, this is total shit, because you then just lose your flow and lose all your ideas and all this good stuff. And therefore I would say that having this kind of principle is quite only good for things you don't have to be creative for, which is just work. It's just maybe filling out data or just moving data, or sorting out your PC, or whatever you're doing, just some some work that could be done by everyone, quite without degrading anyone, but you know what I mean. So McEwen encourages you to stop hyper-focusing on minor details and start looking at the big picture. This is where we are going to make progress, and this is definitely it. And I know I've been discussing this point just before, but I still know that I've been stopping here, pretty much under this paragraph or under this code actually as well, which there are pretty good points at my point of view. But discerning what is essential to explore requires us to be disciplined in how we scan and filter all the competition or competing and conflicting facts, options constantly vying. Is it vying? It's vying for our attention. McEwen has the following tips to help you to focus on the bigger picture and stop hyper-focusing on small details. The first one is, and I will go through it, so all those tips, and I just then talk about each and another if I do just feel like it, or if I do just have to say something about it. So the first one is keep a journal. The second one is get out into the field and get out there and fully explore the problem. Keep your eyes peeled from abnormal and unusual details and clarify the question, or what question are you trying to answer? These are, at my point of view, pretty fucking good points. The first, which is, keep a journal, is actually a good one, because I often feel like, okay, or I just, understand it why he maybe makes the point, or he maybe is making the point, because if you do keep a journal and just, write down your progress, you can clearly see if you are progressing or not, and if you're maybe just focusing on the wrong things or not. If you just feel like, okay, I'm not progressing at all in just 5 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, then you might clearly see that you're focusing on the wrong thing, and therefore you could change it up. Keep your journal again, and then you can see, okay, was it a better thing? Have you done better than the month before or the weeks before, where you just had some kind of other focus or not? I think it's a pretty good one. The second one is get out into the field. This is definitely something that I would suggest if you're just doing something theoretically that you could actually be doing practically. A lot of times I kind of feel like, okay, just making something theoretically is good. Okay, you just need the knowledge at first. This is something I like personally, just having the knowledge first and then actually just going out and trying my stuff and just trying, okay, what can I do with this? Which is the same thing that I'm always doing with new programs. I'm just learning. Which is I do just get the basic knowledge, where I can find the things I just need, and then I will just try out certain things and try what works best for me and how I'm the fastest and whatever. Because often it feels like for me that if you're in the practical world, there are pretty much different problems than in the theoretical world. Often there are just more problems, or just problems you didn't expect to have. Keep your eyes peeled for abnormal and unusual data, which is something I do not quite understand, so therefore I will skip it. And the fourth one, clarify the question, what question are you trying to answer? Which is kind of basically, for me, if I just understand it correctly, the same thing as the first one, so keep a journal, which is, are you actually focusing on the right thing? Are you actually, kind of decoding the answer you wanted to decode in the really beginning? If you then just see like, okay, you're working towards something else and you're just actually answering another question, okay, you just have to just refocus, just see, okay, what your actual focus should be, and then you actually focus on the thing that you will know that you will just be able to answer this question you're having. or you're actually having, or you initially had, whatever. Allow yourself to play. This is for me something important because, as I said before, I always like to play with things like, if it's programs, if it's just everything that I could kind of be just playing with. I kind of feel like, okay, just trying out stuff is the thing that works the best for me. I'm not like a person who does it theoretically so often that I'm sure that I know it. No, I quite do it practically and just see, okay, I can do this and I can do that, but what if I do this? Okay, then I just see I fucked everything up. Okay, I will not do it. And so on. And so it's time to stop. It's time to stop perceiving play as a time where you are neglecting your responsibilities. Stop feeling lazy when you're not 100% focused on work or the big picture. McCune explains that play is a significant piece of the essentialist puzzle because it provides a platform for exploration. Play allows you to expand your knowledge and uncover a broader range of options. Play allows you to see things in a way that you might never have if you didn't allow yourself the opportunity to play. Having time to play opens up to meeting people in a different environment and making new connections. Play can be used as a platform to broaden perspectives and challenge assumptions. It's time for imagination and can be where new ideas are born. McCune explains that play is also essential in managing your own stress. If you're feeling like highly stressed, your creativity and productivity are immediately affected and the quality of your work and life will decrease. Allowing yourself the freedom to play provides you with an opportunity to reset and re-energize. This is definitely something I believe in because I'm pretty thankful and grateful for me being actually in a pretty creative school and having, just a lot of freedom in terms of my creativity and just, actually being able to do things. And, at the end, it always comes up to solving problems, which is definitely something I like to do. Definitely, because I think it's fun to just, have all the kind of variables and just see, okay, what's working and what's not working and just, figuring the whole stuff out. It's always fun for me. So I always like it, but I did actually want to make another point about this. I actually wanted to say something else, something pretty important actually, which is a little bit of pity, a little bit of pity. Yeah. For me, actually, playing is pretty important, as I was saying. It's the same thing. I feel like, okay, if I do everything so strict and I just do it like the plan all the fucking time, I feel like, okay, it's a little bit actually, yeah, not good for my life and not good for my body. And I do quite feel it if I'm just doing my workouts. I do quite always had it like 40 minutes long. I'm now just upgraded to 60 minutes because I felt like, okay, I need to step up my game a little bit because I didn't really see the progress anymore, so that much, which was a little bit bad, especially when you're just when you've just been working out for such a long time without actually seeing that much progress, which is definitely because I do not train out or do not work out, with a plan or something, and I'm actually do not just pretty much writing down my progress and whatever. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, I always feel like at the end of my workout or just going to the end of the workout, I pretty much feel like, okay, I do just pretty much want to do what I want. I want to be creative with my body, seeing, okay, can I do this, can I do that? And for me, it's actually important to just free up the time for just trying out certain stuffs, because you might know that I'm doing only calisthenics, maybe with a little bit of weighted training as well. So especially weighted squats and all these things are important for me because my own body weight is too light for my fucking feet, and therefore I do just have to step it up a little bit. But just actually seeing and trying out what you can actually be doing with your body alone without any weight and so on, in terms of actual those calisthenic moves, which are the human flag and all these great things. It's always great to have some time to try out these things and see, okay, I'm that much away from that much away from this one and that one, and whatever. So for me, actually playing, and therefore I'm just really feeling with him, is pretty important. Mine your past for play memories. What did you do as a child that excited you, and how can you recreate that today? Okay, yeah, a good idea. Actually, a pretty good idea. And now we come to a point, this is so fucking important and a lot of people fuck with it, which is totally, pretty much unacceptable for me, even though I do just fuck with it so incredibly as well. It's sleep and recover. For the for all the YouTube viewers, it might be like, okay, I just I can read it. Thank you, man. But for the podcast listeners, it's sleep and recover. Why I do fuck with it? Yeah, I do just kind of dismiss sleep, and I kind of be like, okay, it's okay for me not sleeping that much if I can just work on the things I love. So, what I'm doing quite right now, which is often not the best thing, because you just always have to look at it like, okay, if you do just cut sleep today a little bit, you will be just, not feeling that good tomorrow. So to actually, be able to create the best tomorrow, you should, have the best today, or should create, the best opportunities for tomorrow actually being at its best. Which means that, if you just, cut your sleep and fuck with your sleep, you will definitely, it will always come up to who you are, because Jocko Willink, the SEAL, the ex-SEAL kind of, what is it called? Leader, first of all, and or commander, whatever it is called, and instructor as well. He's only just pretty much sleeping 5 hours a night. He gets up at 4:30, and he goes to bed like 11 p.m. or just 10 p.m. or something like that, which will then be at the end just 5 or 6 hours of sleep, which is definitely way too less for me. I quite feel like just really shit if I do just sleep only 6 or 7, 8 hours. 6 or 7 hours actually, even though 7 hours is actually pretty much. But, it always comes up to who you are and how your body reacts to what you're doing. And I think it always comes up to, if you're happy with doing what really just, lets you cut your sleep, or just, moves you to cutting your sleep. Because, yeah, I'm working here, which is definitely something I want to do. But I can just, imagine being at work just so late, work that you actually do not like or aren't passionate about, which then just fucks and destroys your whole life completely if you can't even sleep anymore, because you're just doing the same shit you're actually not liking over and over again, and just, until you just have to go to bed without actually being able to do something else. I would understand deeply that this will fucking fuck you. But yeah, all too often we all heard complaining that there are not enough hours in the day, which is total shit. It always comes up to, how you're preferencing your hours and what you're doing. And you could be like, okay, I cut out more leisure time, and this leisure time I will just sleep, If you're just coming home so late that you aren't able to do something else, just, pretty much, going into the shower, having a shower, eating something, taking a shit, whatever, and then actually, going to bed, yeah, then just cut out leisure time, if to feel good. But yeah, wishing that we didn't need to sleep as much so we could squeeze more in, or we simply go to bed far too late and get up far too early. McCune explains that this approach is exactly what essentialists avoid. Sleep is not a burden, it's not a barrier to getting things done. We need to shift our mindset and view sleep as a necessary tool, which is definitely the truth, because all these people who think like they can live without sleep, it's it's total shit. You need sleep. It's the time you're actually recovering your whole body, your mind, and everything quite. So we need to shift our mindset to view sleep as a necessary tool. Without sleep, we face burnout, a lack of creativity, productivity, and our general quality of life decreases. And besides that, also your health just is really fucked, because you need to sleep. Human wouldn't exist without sleeping. We just need to sleep. Without sleep, yeah, I've read this. Essentialists view sleep as a crucial part of the puzzle, and they will specifically design more time for sleep. acknowledging that with more sleep, they will actually have more energy and motivation, as a result, get more done. Sleep is what allows you to operate at our highest level of contribution so that we can achieve more in less time. Sleep will enhance your ability to explore, make connections, and do less but better throughout your waking hours. That's definitely the truth, and this is actually what Gary Vee also emphasizes. It's besides that, pretty much critical point, because he gets pretty much criticized for it as well, because he's been emphasizing and underlining the fact that we all should work more and work longer and just work on the things we love besides our actual work maybe, which is definitely something he has been criticized for. But he then actually said, okay, he gives a fuck about how long you sleep, which is, now totally the truth. It's about what you're doing in the hours you're awake, which is, just pretty much okay. It makes sense. You could be sleeping 8 hours a day, totally. But if you just fuck around with the time, around the day or in the day, and you just kind of do not squeeze out every single minute out of your 18 hours or maybe 16 hours you're having, then okay, then you just have to cut sleep, okay? To just really be successful or just really get to where you want to get. It makes sense for me, at least. So therefore, yeah, it's about what you're doing in the day and not what you're doing about your sleep, Sleep is important. Hell yeah or no. This is potentially one of my favorite quotes from this book, or any book really. No more yes, it's either hell yeah or no. In Essentialism, McEwen explains his 90% rule as something that can be used in almost any situation. When faced with an important decision, give the option a rating, anywhere between 0 to 100. If it falls under 90%, discard and reject it. It's not worth your time and energy. Anything over 90% can be pursued, and this will help you avoid getting stuck with things that are only rated at 50 or 60. When faced with a new opportunity, McEwen recommends using this approach, which is definitely something that I've been thinking quite now about, because I always feel like if I hear something new or something that I haven't particularly done in such a way yet, I always quite feel like, okay, I actually do not want to do it, because it's something new and I just maybe don't like it. I don't know why. It's just pretty interesting. I do quite feel like changing it as well, because it prevents me actually from doing good things, I think. And therefore most of the time I feel like, okay, saying no actually and being like, okay, this is definitely not a 90%, definitely not. But it's something I should have done maybe, or something that I would enjoy if I would do it, As I was playing soccer in my youth, I have been playing soccer for a pretty long time, I would say. It was always like, if I had some kind of tournaments on the weekends, it was always like, I don't want to go. And my parents always just were like, okay, because they knew me, they were like, yeah, you're going anyways. And I went there and everything, at the end was pretty great. I enjoyed it as always and I had my fun and everything was turning out pretty good. And this is something, if you have the same problem, to just, pretty much calculate in to the whole equation of the 90%, because if you just see, okay, it's something new and you do not actually know if it is a 90% or not, just pretty sure, then maybe you should even do it to actually, just know if it is then worth afterwards again or actually not. But we will actually see what the author says about his 3-step, pretty much approach on how to actually face new opportunities. The first one is write down on a piece of paper what the opportunity is, which then would be, for example, speaking at an event. Second one is, under the opportunity, decide on 3 key criteria that the opportunity would need to pass before you would consider pursuing, which then would be an audience over 1,000 people or travel costs covered. The third one is, write down the ideal criteria, the best case scenario, which would then be 5,000 people in the audience, and you are to receive a speaker's fee. This makes sense for me, because you then just see, first of all, what is the thing that I would have to do? What is actually the thing to just really show it up? Maybe you have it in terms of a table and something like this, because it's just better to look at, and you just have a better overview of everything. And then the second one actually being like, okay, what is the minimum thing that it has to be like, so that I will actually do it, or that it would make any sense for me, or that I would pretty much think about actually doing it. And then the third one being like, okay, what is the best case scenario? What could be, or what could be the best thing that could happen in this quite scenario? Which then, in terms of this would be 5,000 people being in the audience, and you actually receiving something for it. I think this is a pretty good approach, and I think this is, besides that, a non-emotional approach. Because often I feel like, okay, we are always making decisions based on our feelings, which is definitely something you shouldn't be doing, because you for sure make some other decisions when you're in a good mood or you're in a bad mood. It makes sense. But what the fuck I'm doing? But besides that, I feel like, it is pretty objective, and you clearly see, okay, this is something you should maybe try, and this is something you should never try. And therefore you can definitely be like, okay, this is worth it, or this is not worth it. So now, if the opportunity does meet your three key criteria, then you need to say, so if the opportunity doesn't meet your three key criteria, then you need to say no. Makes sense. But if it also doesn't pass 2 out of 3 of your ideal criteria, then the answer should still be no. This means that you can't figure out which opportunities are truly going to benefit you and are essential. Yes, that's true. Just really cutting out every single thing that's not fully in your criteria. Even though it's a 2 out of 3, or maybe a 2.5 out of 3, you just, fuck it anyways, because you just, be objective with it and be like, okay, this is something that's not working for me, or it seems like not working for me, so I don't do it. And again, the great quote, no more yes, it's either hell yeah or no. The third one is eliminate, get rid of the non-essential. The third section of McEwan's book is designed to help you eliminate all the non-essential and free up some time and energy to focus on the things in your life that are vital. Again, McEwan suggests you shift your approach rather than asking yourself which things you should say yes to. Ask yourself what you will say no to. This will help you to reveal your true priorities and uncover the things that you can easily discard. Yeah, this makes sense. It's easier to just, really try to sort out everything that's definitely a no, than being like, okay, this is a yes and this is a yes, because you for sure might be a little bit more, friendly with these things. If, it doesn't make any sense in this context, but you'll be like, okay, this is a yes and that is a yes. Okay, maybe this is also a yes, but, if it's a no, it's a no. I hope you get what I mean quite. I hope it. Make decisions. Definitely something I can't do yet. This is something I do just really have to work on, because I can't do it. I don't know why, but it is so hard for me making actual decisions, especially when it's a tough decision, and when it's something that I do have to think about a pretty much long time. Especially things that I'm buying, because I'm never ever buying something. I'm never pretty much consuming anything but the things that I put in my mouth, or just the things that I eat or drink or whatever. But I never just buy clothes. This is something I totally hate quite, because it's taking up so much time and money, and I do quite feel like, okay, I want to look good, I want to look okay, but I do not have to wear the newest shit. If everything is looking good at me, it's okay, and I would rather spend the time on actually working out, so that I actually just look good in every piece of clothing. Yeah. This always reminds me I think it is actually a YouTube channel called Train to Look Good Naked, I feel like, or it is on Instagram, I don't know. It always comes up to my mind when I talk about, actually working out to look good in terms of, buying clothes or this shit. But yeah. Yeah, one of the first decisions McEwen recommends that you make when you take on essentialism is to eliminate any activity that doesn't align with your support your big picture goals, which is, always the thing that I'm talking about, which is, really making choices based on your values and on your goals. Because if you're only doing it, like this, without, pretty much cutting out all the emotions you're having, or all the quite, pretty much emotions. Often emotions, I think, are just the reason why we choose something that is at the end maybe not that good, but maybe, even the other way around, which could also be a thing. But I think if you're just really objective and make everything based on your goals and values, it is for sure that you will just achieve your goals and values someday. I won't say that, by doing this, you will actually have it in the next few weeks, your goal. But it will definitely make sense if you just do it, because you actually be like, okay, no, I've explained it so often, I think I just piss people off, to be honest. McEwen explains that in the workplace, it can be particularly detrimental to have tasks and jobs that don't clearly align with the end goal. If you're part of a team but don't know what the team stands for or what your specific goals and roles are, you're likely to face confusion, stress, and frustration. Instead, by defining activities and roles in relation to the end goals, people have clarity about what is expected of them and are able to work to a higher standard. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's always good in a team to just see, okay, who is the best at this and who is the best at that, and just make the team and just give every particular team member the work he's essentially good at, or especially good at. Essential intent. What you need to apply to these activities is where I am. Okay, no. Is essential intent. As defined by McEwen, essential intent is both inspirational and concrete in nature. It is able to be measured and brings meaning. Done right, an essential intent is one decision that settles 1,000 later decisions. The key question that you need to ask yourself is, if we could be truly excellent at only one thing, what would it be? McEwen explains that by asking yourself this question, you will be able to influence all future decisions. Yeah, because you're just pretty much focusing on that one thing. You're focusing, okay, I want to be good at this or that thing. So you will do everything to just be good at this or that, which is actually a pretty good idea, because never mind. I wanted to say that it's always good to just, build up your strengths and, just, let down everything you're weak at, because getting some kind of mediocre at something you're actually weak at just takes up a lot of time, but things you're good at, it won't take any time to just really get the best at it, and so on and so on. So it will take time, but not as much. But besides that, I just wanted to say actually that you just need one particular thing to be really, really good at. I don't actually know. In terms of being an employee, yeah, totally. If you're a graphic design employee, you just only have to be good at graphic designing, and then you just get a job. If you're really just the best one, you can even just have your own agency as well. So nothing to cut out, but yeah, never mind. McEwen explains that by asking yourself this question, I have read this one. It's not an easy task to create essential intent. McEwen explains that you really have to be brave, look deep inside, and have the foresight to recognize what is exactly that will contribute to you meeting your own expectations, to reaching your big picture goals. McEwen explains that there are always going to be competing priorities, but we have to recognize this and acknowledge that they are only a distraction, getting in the way of us realizing our true intent. Eliminating them may be difficult, but it will be beneficial. And it is always good to just know that in the big picture, you will just will just, achieve your fucking goal. Even though, which is actually something that I've been thinking about yesterday. I was thinking like, okay, if you're hardworking in the big picture, pretty much, in a macro, you are hardworking, then it's probably not that bad to just, pretty much reset one day or just don't work one day. Even though the thing is, if you just micro gets your macro in terms of, not working or just not hard working, you will be fucked. If your big picture is not working, then you are not working. But I kind of thought about this, and I kind of thought like, okay, is this the truth? Could this be a thing? Does this make sense? So therefore, if you just think like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, you motherfucker, tell me, please. And just, write me a DM on Snapchat. Not actually on Snapchat. I do not have Snapchat yet. I'm quite thinking about having it because I feel like, okay, it makes sense because there are a lot of people on Snapchat actually. And there will be a future of Snapchat, definitely, I think. But besides that, I'm not that active at Instagram stories as well. So therefore, actually having Snapchat stories, and also because I do have a private Snapchat account, which may then lead to actually having to just switch the accounts over and over again, which is something that's not working for me because it would just take up so much time. But they are just people, and you always have to be where your customer is. If he is on or she is on Facebook, if she or he is on Instagram or on Snapchat or on LinkedIn even, you have to be there. It is worth the effort because only with real clarity of purpose can people, teams and organizations fully mobilize and achieve something truly excellent. No is powerful. So no in quotation marks. How often do you find yourself saying yes or agreeing to something you don't actually want to do? All too often we say yes simply to avoid other conflicts or any further conflicts. McEwen explains that as an essentialist, you need to master how to negotiate these moments to be both brave and graceful. It's one of the most important skills McEwen teaches, but equally the most difficult to master. McEwen explains that when you aren't aware of what is essential, it will be almost impossible, especially when put on the spot, to choose what activities are essential and which are not. People are effective because they say no, which is totally important to, I think he has just pointed it out, just before me in this way now. Because if you do just say no to the things you are not passionate about, or you just completely know these won't, get you further to your goal or whatever, then not doing them is a good thing because you're just, creating more space or having the framework for having more space for and or time for the actual things that you're passionate about and love, and you think that will just get you further to your actual goal or what you want to achieve. By learning to say no to the non-essentials, as a result you free up your time and energy to say yes to the things that are truly essential, those that truly matter. And because of energy, I do just have to be a little philosophical right now, which is something I quite often talked about. I hope I'm not fucking with the people who just listen to my podcast or have been listening to a lot of them. And I do say a lot of shit, over and over again, but it's something that I do quite find pretty interesting and pretty good to know. In terms of energy, it's totally the truth because we all have only one tank of willpower. Why it is only one tank and not like 4 or 3 for different locations? Because as you can see, if you're coming back home, in the night or in the evening, whatever, then you will definitely feel more challenged to eating healthy, if you're eating healthy, than in the morning, because you do not have that much power left, even though just, maybe you have been working out before or you have been, actually normally working. This has nothing to do with eating, but, it still drowns, or is it drowses? Is it drowses, or it just, makes your willpower a little bit smaller or a little bit less. It doesn't matter if it's, the work that's making it less, or if it's you working out, or if it's you, what could you do as well? You cooking, and this is, making your willpower less and whatever. at the end you only have one tank of willpower. And the good thing about this is, if you just cut out everything that's non-essential for you, you will just have more willpower as well, because you're not just using your time and energy for things that aren't essential for you. And but yeah, even though, which is something important additionally to this point, is that at my point of view, it is quite important to do some things you are not passionate about, or you particularly not like as well. Because why? You pretty much create the discipline for yourself to just really do your thing, and to really just build up your willpower. Because willpower is only one tank, you're also able to just really build up that willpower through just a really simple area that is pretty convenient for you, which will be like, maybe you're just sitting straight more often, which is something I've learned from a book actually, which is the truth. Just telling yourself to sit straight over and over again and being disciplined in this way just will create the willpower in other areas of your life. Totally. But yeah, it is to say no frequently and gracefully to everything but what is truly vital. By embracing essentialism, you have to accept that you are not always going to be the most popular. By default, people are often hurt or shocked when they are told no. But McEwen explains that by learning to say no respectfully and gracefully, we really help. It's time to uncommit. Sunk cost bias is the term McEwen uses to describe what happens when we continuously invest our time, money, and energy into a product that deep down we know is not going to make it, or is already failing. We do this because the money, time, and energy we have already invested is the driver. This is where an essentialist steps up. McEwen describes an essentialist as someone who can acknowledge their own mistakes and have the bravery to uncommit despite whatever costs, monetary or likewise, have been invested. Don't ask, how will I feel if I miss out on this opportunity, but rather, if I did not have this opportunity, how much would I be willing to sacrifice in order to obtain it? It's a good question, and it's always like, okay, it is always like, I don't know where I have it from, but actually just being like, okay, rating your situation. What is the worst case scenario, or what could happen if you just not do it anymore? And it's just, I don't know, what's the benefits of not doing it, or just or how should I say it? What's the benefits of actually still doing it? What are the benefits of that? And just rating it from 0 to 10, and then be like, okay, what's the good thing about actually not doing it? If I haven't said it, I hope I do not mix it up. So rate the worst case scenario and rate the best case scenario in terms of, you actually doing it, or you're still doing it, or you just do it, you go on doing it, totally. You go on doing it, or you just, uncommitted, what's best, rate it, you can actually be like, okay, I will get more time to just actually do something else that I know will just give me more opportunities, or will make me happier, or will make me somewhat, I don't know. Or, okay, this other thing might not work, so I will just still be at the other thing and just try to kind of make a curve and do the everything great again. Make everything great again. Funny. Just rating it. It's always the same thing with scenarios. Just rate the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. And if you clearly see that your worst case scenario is 3 at the worst scale of 1 to 10, but your best case scenario is actually a 10 at a 1 to 10 scale in terms of being actually good, then you should totally make the best case scenario, because the ROI, the return of investment, or the return would be much better than the temporary pain or the temporary failure you will have at actually not doing it. But I think we're getting on quite okay with it. I could be a little faster, definitely, but I kind of feel like, okay, we will just finish it by the end of the next episode. I'm actually doing it so not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. Is that actually worth for 2 days after now, quite, or 2 days after this day? So not tomorrow, but the next day. Is it the next day? I don't know. This is the thing. I often don't know all these easy words. But we have stopped at always be editing. And this is it with the episode. I hope I wasn't speaking too quiet, by the way. I hope everything was good. I hope the quality was good. I hope the content was good. I hope you were able to learn something. I do quite feel like, okay, I just see that I could actually be doing it like this. Then you could see me even more, even though you just see my phone, but there is nothing on it, so therefore it's okay. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day or night, what actually time zone you are in now. But I hope you health, wealth, happiness. I hope you're giving back something and a great legacy. And yeah, have a wonderful day, and I love you.